Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Vion Goyle, and I'm joined by my partners, Kavya Katuva and Evan Wang. We work for the BranchOut program, which is a nonprofit organization under Veritas Education Leaders. Veritas was actually founded by Dr. Yushin Wu and Mr. Richard Wang in 2015, and has has grown from 20 student volunteers to over 150 student volunteers in 4 summers. Our high school mentors come from over 40 different schools in 5 states.
BranchOut started as a STEM mentoring program working at various community centers, homeless shelters, and county summer credit recovery programs. Today, we have expanded into a community outreach program to promote cross-cultural understanding by featuring community heroes, creating research articles, and organizing career panels.
Some of BranchOut's goals include promoting civic engagement, community, and STEM education, and we are very excited to present this informative career panel. Our topic for today, as you may know, is computer science. We chose this because of the high interest from high school students in this area and the importance of computer knowledge in this modern and digital era. New data and strategies are constantly emerging in the field of computer science, and the development and modernization of technology around the world is one of the main factors that helps us evolve. Computers are needed for nearly every career in today's world, and we wouldn't be where we are today without the drastic improvement in computers over the past 2 decades.
Professionals in computer science learn and develop softwares, programs, and websites as part of their daily lives. They can focus on a variety of things when working with computers, but they always are improving and shaping experiences users can have with functional programs.
Our first speaker tonight is Professor Chung. He's an associate professor at Virginia Tech with interests in internet security, internet privacy, and measurement. We are very glad to have you here with us tonight. Could you please introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. My name is Tijay from CS Department, Computer Science Department at Virginia Tech. I'm very kind of honored to join this program so that I can take any questions from you guys so that I can help you for your future career. My overall research topic is internet security. So if you have some questions about internet, how you can make internet much more secure, please ask me. Yeah.
Thank you, Professor Chung. Our second speaker tonight is Professor Cho, and she's an associate professor at Virginia Tech in the CS department, researching network performance and social analysis. Professor Cho, it's an honor to have you join us here tonight. Could you please introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. I see a lot of students are here. It's glad to meet you guys. I joined the VTech in the last 2018, and basically I worked in the government, federal government, particularly in the Department of Defense, which is the Army Research Lab, for 10 years as a researcher, and then I moved to the academia. It's been only the 3 years, I think, And then the major research area is kind of very diverse, even though I say the area is cybersecurity, but I'm kind of highly leveraging the AI and also network science and game theory, or kind of the methodology even related to the social science. I use them, to solve the cybersecurity problems. I would be happy to answer the
one that you want for the cloud pack would be the first one.
Again, we would just ask if everyone in the audience could please mute themselves. That'd be great. Thank you.
Did you guys hear what I said?
Yes, we did.
I heard it. I guess the organizer, you have some control panels to let all the audience mute, and you can control individual to let them speak or not.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see. Because in the middle, kind of the mic got cut. So okay.
Thank you, Professor Cho. We are very excited to have you all with us this evening, and I'm thrilled to hear your perspective and all of the excellent information you will provide us with about computer science. We will start off by asking some questions. During this time, if anyone in the audience has any questions or thinks of any questions, please type them in the chat to everyone and we will get to them later. Let's go ahead and start with our first question. Professor Chung, if you could answer first, followed by Professor Cho, that would be great.
Our first question for you two is, why did you choose to work in the field of computer science?
Oh, that's a good question. When I was very young, I guess when I was a middle school students, there were lots of movies about showing cool feature of hackers, hacking computers and they're stealing money. So when I was very young, I thought that, oh, that is very cool. So I wish I could be like them, right? But after joining a university, I thought that, oh, the hacking stuff is not everything about computer science. There is much more than that. So something like internet. So we are using internet every day. Sometimes you will notice that your connectivity is not that good and that you just blame your ISP. But actually there are much more reasons why your internet is not working. Sometimes you will see lots of advertisement, phishing pages, something like that. So after joining the university, I noticed that, oh, there are lots of cool stuff. So I decided to keep working on that, and I went to graduate schools, and I found much more interesting stuff, and here I am.
Okay, so I guess that TJ's answer is more likely standard and normal, and it's kind of in the normal distribution. It's kind of most of the professors are following that path. But I would say my path was quite outlier. I didn't choose the computer science as my first major in my college. I was, chosen in the social science. Particularly, I studied the social work. And then I thought I want to study in the US. And then I went to the one university, the Washington University in St. Louis, to study the social work. Then, I worked as a social worker and then a couple of years. And then I found, I kind of may not fit to that field. So it's not really efficient path for me, kind of, So that's why I'm saying the TJ path is more like, conventional and traditional standard way, more likely I'm encouraging that path though, but my path was different. So after I'm finishing my master, I worked in a couple of years. I decided to change my major and then kind of trying to go back to my memory, my high school, what was a very interesting subject to me. Because in my generation, I'm quite old. So in my generation, even we couldn't find one single girl in the engineering school. So in my generation, my country. So I haven't thought about I go to the engineering school, my country, but I was in the US and kind of everything's kind of I thought I could choose whatever I want. So I decided to test myself. What was the interesting subject to me? Then kind of I thought, okay, science and the math was my favorite courses. Although I went to study the social science for my college. So I decided to go to the community college and do the old kind of the required some basic courses. I successfully finished it and I applied for the the master program in the DC area, Virginia, and this area, because at that time I married already. And then, I have a husband working in this area. So I want to study in this area. Then I chose the BTech and then I studied my master. Then almost in the end of my master, I found out I kind of wanted to study more. And then also there was a practical reason for me. Maybe boys may not kind of understand, but I thought, I have family, I want to make a family. So I decided to have the baby. So, okay, pursuing the PhD would be the more, the better path for me, at that time to kind of handle both my family and work. So I finished it, while I'm, taking care of my kids, and then I also finished the PhD. And then still I want to stay in this area because my family is working in this area, and then there's a bunch of the federal government lab around here. So luckily, if you are in the Virginia or the DC or Maryland, we have a lot of federal government around here. There is Army, Navy, and Air Force is in the Rome though, in the headquarters, but the Navy and a lot of Army organization around here, and also there are a bunch of the PhD scientists are working there to developing the cool stuff. And then I got a job in the Army Research Lab and I worked there as a researcher for 10 years. And then I kind of thought, maybe this is maybe my second chapter to pursue another challenge. So I moved to the academia 3 years ago, and then I'm enjoying my life here. So hopefully I answered your question. But definitely you guys can, ask other questions because I'm kind of an outlier, kind of the different. I took the different path, the other conventional, professors. Because I definitely, encourage you guys that if you really like the science and also math, and then enjoying the computer science, definitely you can choose the computer science as your first choice in your college. That is good. But the things, I would just say that some benefit in my case would be I kind of experienced the other area in the social science. So as a scientist, I can also easily adopt some, social science behavior theory in my, research. So in that aspect, it can be more, novelty there, that I can apply in my research. So yeah, that's my answer. Next.
Oh, it's really interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. It's really interesting to see how your path, Professor Cho, and your path, Professor Chung, kind of really compare and contrast. As Professor Chung took a more traditional and conventional way, and Professor Cho, you had a pretty unconventional way to the field of computer science. So our next question for you would be, could you please give us an overview of what your job entails? For example, what you do on an average day at work?
So my main job is in large, I have three main jobs. The first one is I have to mentor my students, PhD students, master's student, and undergraduate students, and also teach a couple of courses during the semester. And also the other one is performing a really good research. So very high level, what I do is make the internet much more secure. So for example, these days, especially older people got receive lots of phishing messages. So for example, the domain name, when you browse your internet, you typically type a domain name in your browser, but sometimes even the domain name looks very similar to, authentic domain names such as Amazon.com. It can be like a phishing email, such as Amazon.com, clickme.com or something like that. So this is really hard to solve, but anyway, this is one of my part of my research. So on an average day at work, this is my life cycle. I go to my lab typically at 8-9 a.m. and stay there and do research and the teaching until 4 p.m. and I pick up my daughter and come home and staying with my family maybe until 8 p.m. And after that, I do I use the spare time until 10 or 11 p.m. to do some research. So one of the great things about my job is I have only one boss, which is myself. So I control everything. So so something goes wrong, it is highly likely to be your fault. So you don't need to get some pressure by your boss, because it is, your boss is yourself. So you can control everything. So that is the good part. But the bad thing is when the things goes wrong, that is totally your fault. So yeah, that's it.
Okay, then if you guys have any question to Chung, you guys can do that. Otherwise, I can start my part. Okay, and I can answer. Okay, so it's kind of similar though. Depending on the individual professor, they have their own styles. Yeah. So yeah, particularly in these days, it's kind of pandemic. I'm trying to work from home because I also have kids. So it's kind of always kind of the busy life for the working mom, So typically the main jobs for the professor is the research and then service and teaching. So teaching is, as you guys also know, the VTech, the professor usually teaching the one course per semester. Yeah, in my case, I'm located in the Falls Church and then the Northern Virginia campus. I'm mainly teaching the graduate students, master students, and the PhD students. So I kind of envy the Blacksburg faculty members are teaching the undergraduate student though. But there is some kind of the interaction with them though. Yeah. And then service is usually professors does participating some research community, means that we review proposal, we also review the papers, and then the paper means that there is a submit to the conference or your journal. So we kind of serve as a reviewer, and also we serve as the editorial board, and then some kind of associate editor. And also we also serve as a technical committee in our program, and then the main job is we look for the reviewer, and then we also collecting all the decision and then make a decision. Another part is we do the review the paper, and then we provide our all kind of the technical comments. That is service. And then I did the teaching and service and research. Research is basically two things. One is the student mentoring. So I kind of usually meet the PhD students weekly, and also full-time PhD master students weekly, and then part-time students bi-weekly. And then usually I take care of the 4 to 5 meetings per day. And also I meet a number of teams to write the proposal. So the most difficult parts for the faculty member is bring up the money to do the research and the supporting our students. That is very, very difficult, and also that is the main job, particularly for the research departments. So basically, the writing the paper is we work with the students, but the writing the proposal we work with many other faculty member and even the other and other university. Even I do the international collaborator. I work with a European faculty member. I work with the Korean and Chinese, and then also the Australia. It's kind of we do the kind of collaboration, with the world, scientists. So that is kind of the normal life. Kind of each day is kind of hodgepodge of each of the version, So it's kind of the some busy life, from the day, like I start at 8 to 9, and then also depending on the day, but usually the graduate students work really late and even the 2 a.m. So sometimes I kind of up to there to work with them. Yeah, that's kind of normal life for the most of the faculty members, I believe. Questions?
No, thank you very much for sharing. Evan, if you could go ahead with our next question, that'd be great.
Okay. Thank you very much for both your answers. You two sound very busy. I think it's very interesting how you have to balance both teaching and also research and like family life. Okay. So our next question is, what hardships have you experienced in your work, and how have you had to overcome them?
Hardships. Hey, Jin-Hee, can you start first? I think I need to some time to think about it.
Oh, not much hardship in your life.
So easy.
Yeah. So actually, kind of I want to encourage particularly the female students to commit in the STEM. Anyway, I'm not talking about some kind of gender issue, but in reality, in our life, in reality. So particularly the woman scientists, woman faculty members, we do more work in our family, taking care of kids, making the meal. It's real mom, and also the, so many things in the house, particularly these days, it's pandemic, many things going on. At the same time, I need to maintain the good quality of my work. So let's say that, let's talk about the, hardship at work. So hardship at work is basically we always, I don't know the other faculty member, but in my case, I failed many, many, many times because our life is we always submit the many, many paper. And then if we kind of submit the many, many paper to the top tier conference and journal, and then because that is top tier, so also I got rejected many, many times. But I need to try again and again and again, and then finally go through it. Same things for the proposal to raise some funding. I kind of failed many, 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 many times. Kind of sometimes very frustrated, but I need to keep going on. And then I need to find out the good collaborator. And then also when I lead a team, it's not really, you guys kind of think, the professors are all kind of listen well and they cooperate well. No, it's not. So I kind of feel like I need to push the students. I need to push the other faculty member to get things done. And also I push my son to do his, the study. So I feel like I'm always kind of, I'm kind of the pushing person to everyone, right? Maybe everyone doesn't like me, So I feel like that's kind of very hard, yeah. So sometimes I'm very stressed out because, so many works going on, is going on, but I need to keep working on it. And then, I believe that, I think for life, it's not necessarily only for the faculty member. So for the life is persistency and perseverance, the only things that can lead us to sustain and then be successful in the end. Yeah. So my solution for the hardship, keep trying.
All right. Actually, that is a really good advice for me as well. So, yeah. I'm writing many papers. I'm starting many papers, and as Jin-Hee said, I got a tons of reject email. So, which is very frustrating and which is screwed your day. But we have to carry on. So my hardship is it's about research. So when I started doing research for the first time, I felt that all the jobs, all the research and the small task of the research have to be done myself. But actually, this only applies to, I guess, for high school students or middle school students. So if you want to get the really good SAT scores, you have to study hard yourself or by yourself to get the really good scores. But actually, when you do research, you don't need to do it by yourself. You should learn how to ask for help, and also learn how to provide some good help to others. So yeah, that is my hardship. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like the not just a faculty member, but I would say the scientists. We scientists always try to develop something new. So I always kind of take some analogy that, let's say there's a some music composer, they kind of making the music. I feel like I kind of feel like their pain, when they cannot make a good music, and then they kind of frustrated. It's kind of same things. So getting the good idea, I do believe that in the capitalism, and we all always, we all kind of sell something to make money. But the scientists, we sell our ideas. So making the novel idea is kind of making something new. That is always very, very hard. We kind of looking into all the existing approach and the existing technology, but at the same time, we need to add something on top of that. And that is not really easy. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, there is a really popular saying, which is standing on the shoulders of the giant. So it means you don't need to do everything. You don't need to do everything from the scratch. Using the understanding of, by the major thinkers who have already done, you can just make a tiny step on that to make it, progress, right? So to do that, you need to practice yourself how to ask for help. You don't need to feel embarrassed because everyone feels in the same way. So yeah.
Thank you so much for your responses. Professor Cho, your traits of perseverance are truly inspiring. And Professor Chung, I'm glad that you were able to push forward with your research. I think it's very important for our audience to know of the obstacles you face because those who choose to pursue this career path may encounter some of these same challenges. Our next question is, what is something you wish you had done differently in your career?
All right. Can you do first, Jin-Hee?
So what was questions? What was the comment? Can you say it again?
What is something you wish you had done differently in your career?
Think by my career differently.
For me, I would not change anything. I really like where I am. So, oh, one thing is actually, I study I'm from South Korea. So I did my BS and MS and the PhD in South Korea. So after that, I moved to the US and to do some, research for 3 years. And now I'm finally at university. So I studied really hard when I was a high school student to get into the really good university. But after that, I felt that I achieved everything. So I started to play a lot, spending much of the time uselessly and done nothing. And after spending 3 years and 4 years doing nothing, I figured it out. Oh, there's nothing that I can do. So actually, the decision that I headed to a graduate school was somehow forced because I learned nothing from the university because I just did nothing. So, so if I could go back to undergrad, when I was a undergrad student, I think I had to study harder. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm, I think I need to recall myself in my high school. Then I think that I didn't have that high confidence in myself. So I think that, one of my collaborators is the psychologist, and then particularly neuropsychologist. She just explained to me the one study that what level of the confidence can make the students outperform. That is a very interesting question. It was kind of that inspired me actually. That the study finding was that some kind of the middle level of the confidence is ultimately the students to the maximum performance. Why high confidence or low confidence? So because too low confidence doesn't give you the enough courage to start something what you want, right? Because you kind of keep, having the low confidence level that leads to the low self-esteem, then they kind of take all the courage from doing something good or doing something you want. On the other hand, if you have very high confidence and then some kind of arrogance, not really making a good effort on it, and then finally you cannot, make it the maximum, achievements you can do. So she said that in the, her, study, and the key finding was the certain kind of the middle level of the confidence level. That is enough confidence you can start something with the courage, but it's still, that kind of the stimulate you keep doing the, hard work, right? So, but when I kind of recalled my high school, I didn't have the high confidence. That means I had very low confidence. So even though I have the ability, but I wasn't really, kind of initiate something that some kind of I underestimate myself. I regret, I really regret about that, even though I failed. What if I do something, try something more and things like that. So I went to the college and I kind of reflected myself in my high school. And then I thought, okay, let me try to change my attitude. Because at the time, as a minor, I studied psychology. Actually, psychology didn't make me make some good money. However, I learned a lot, to make the how human being outperform, particularly the how to learn, our all kind of academic stuff. So I kind of try to, okay, even though I'm not kind of the positive person, I'm trying to, let's kind of experiment with myself and let's kind of think this way, blah, blah, blah. And then I try to, have the more courage to initiate something. And then surprisingly, the outcome is totally different, right? Surprisingly. So I kind of encourage you guys that, okay, there's something very hard. Definitely, it may not be you always achieve it. However, just try. And then you fail, you keep trying, try. It's kind of going back to what I said, perseverance and persistency. If we keep trying, and then certain time later, I'm sure that you're gonna get it. I'm sure that you're gonna get it. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Chung and Dr. Cho, for those really inspiring answers. As for those two stories, personally, they were pretty relatable, since it's important to have both time management and the courage to do stuff that you want. So our next question for you two is, what do you think is the most common misconception about the computer science field?
The first one is, I guess it is related to what I said before. We don't need to do everything from the scratch. So in other words, you don't need to be genius. So standing on the giant shoulder. So, and the other one is, there is a kind of misconception that male students are better than female students. So actually, it was a very striking moment for me. Actually, when I was one hackathon event, I was a judge. So, but weirdly, I guess only 5% of the whole team was female students, and I was very interested in why it shows such such a low population. And I had a chat with some of the female participant, and they told me that because we're gonna lose. So actually, it is not. When I was the undergraduate student, the first ranked student and the second ranked students, all of them were just female students. So I guess there are you probably have a similar misconception that particularly in the computer science, male students should be better than female students, but not at all. So if you have some similar thought on your mind, no. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Okay, some misperception about the computer science. If you go into the computer science field, the first course you're gonna take is this computer science 101 that requires you to do some programming, algorithm, data structure, things like that. But don't think that is all about the computer science. So computer science these days is everywhere. So many people kind of encouraging these days so-called multidisciplinary research. And then I believe computer science is a core of the multidisciplinary research because even we are in the same area, so-called computer science, and then some faculty member do a lot of stuff with the human subject. So I thought they are social scientists, but no, they are doing the human and computer interaction, so-called, that is HCI. So they're kind of looking at a lot of social science literature. They are looking at they are working with psychologists and all things. And also I've found there's so many the computational psychologists doing the AI. So it was very interesting to me. Oh, computer science is not just doing some programming. And then also that I see that some people even, work with the mathematician, physicists, and also the more hardware people. So I believe the computer science is not just programming. Computer science is kind of a core of the multidisciplinary research. Yeah, you will kind of see how the computer science embraces so many different areas. They're very diverse. And so don't have the bias about that, right?
Thank you very much for sharing. I'm sure our audience found it really valuable to hear both of your perspectives on the computer science field and obviously the misconceptions that it holds. Our next question for both of you would be, what would you say is the most enjoyable and the least enjoyable part of your job?
So the most enjoyable part is I think I'm blessed because I can get paid by doing what I like. So as I briefly told you before, I don't have any boss. Boss is myself. So all the research that I want to do is mainly decided by myself. So, and another one is I can keep working with the young people. So that I can learn very new things from them, because I always work with PhD, master students and undergraduate students. But the least enjoyable part is sometimes when I advise students and when I ask some questions and if they don't answer clearly, I find myself like saying, hey, why do you guys don't know about this, right? But I have to constrain myself, because when I think of myself back when I was a graduate student, I shouldn't don't know either. So that is something I always have to control myself, looking back myself to be a better person.
Okay, for me, it's kind of it would be kind of the same for the most faculty member or the scientist. So the people who become the scientists, or the faculty member doing the research, I think they are there because they like research. The research is not just studying something; it's studying something new. The aim is to develop something new. So we always kind of need to learn. So the professor always needs to learn something new. So that part is kind of very interesting, enjoyable part. And then doing the research with the students is also good. Although there's a kind of the tough parts that, I cannot say they're not enjoyable, but there's some tough parts that when you train the students, because if I need to say same things many times, but the student doesn't reflect, the changes based on my comments, is kind of, frustrating. But I would say, I need to be more patient about the students. But the least enjoyable part is sometimes we need to kind of do the, let's say that we almost done for all the paper, but we need to fix all the, even small typo. And then, so we need to very thoroughly proofread all the papers, but that takes time, that eats my time. Although I have so many things to do, but I still need the things, I already have done. That part is the kind of the less enjoyable, I would say, less enjoyable, yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Chung and Dr. Cho, for those really amazing responses, as it is really important to be patient and listen to others, but computer science does seem like a really enjoyable job, since you get to do research and also be your own boss. So as we are a bit like squeezed on time, we'll be moving to the audience questions now. So if anyone has any questions or clarifications for our panelists, please feel free to type them in the chat or send us a direct message, and we'll start answering our audience questions right now.
So the first question from the audience is, can you, Professor Chung, could you introduce more about computer science, more specifically different majors in computer science and SW versus HW?
So these days, this kind of separation is, I would say, it is not that meaningful. So, for example, software versus hardware. For example, let's say you want to improve the performance of your given software, but the software is running on top of the hardware, right? So if you really want to maximize the performance of the software, you have to see the inside of the hardware. So there are lots of different computers running on the different architectures, and you have to optimize based on that structure. So, and and different majors, there are lots of different fields in the CS. For example, one faculty member in our departments, his working area is music, so HCI. So as Dini mentioned briefly, and I do internet security, which is traditional security plus computer networks. And some faculty members focusing on the machine learning, computer architecture. So there are tons of different fields in computer science. So as I briefly told you before, if you so these days this kind of separation is meaningless, because if you want to keep improving your performance of your specific things, you have to study other areas as well.
Okay, so in my opinion, I totally agree with Chung's opinion. But in addition to that, I can say this. I usually say, even I'm the professor in the computer science, but I only know what I know. So computer science is very broad area, right? So it's not just software and the hardware. There is also human factor involved, and also the even the one of the the project I'm trying to pursue is I work with the animal scientist, because I want to develop the technology for the smart farm. There is cow in the Virginia Tech. So there's kind of the bunch of the area, but don't overwhelmed by this bunch of the area. Particularly when you are in the college, right? In the college level, if you choose the computer science, trying to expose yourself to the many different areas, definitely you cannot study them all. So after that, you decide to pursue your master's degree, and then you can kind of a little bit narrow down, right? Particularly if you want to do the thesis, which is research, and then you can kind of I can say like this, when you make a music, and then sometimes you kind of inspired, right? Inspired by something, right? So I can say we meet the idea. I kind of make an analogy that to my students, we need to meet the good idea, right? And then you can also kind of inspire the something that's particular in the particular area in the computer science. It doesn't have to, you don't have to know everything, but there's just something that triggers, your curiosity, and oh, I want to learn more. And then you can kind of follow your, gut feeling, and then, make a decision. Yeah. So don't be overwhelmed by the so many areas in the computer science. And then there is no so-called the best decision. You make a decision and then make it best. Okay.
Thank you very much for your answers. I think it's very interesting how there's like so many different like subfields, I guess, in computer science, and how you like were able to find and follow your interests. So relating to that, how did you two decide what fields in computer science you wanted to study?
For my case, I didn't choose, because as I told you before, I studied poorly when I was an undergraduate student. So the only major in a computer major course that I got A0 was computer networks. So all the other courses I got, B, C. So I was a really bad student. So after that, I thought, all right, this is something that I can do. Probably this is the only thing I can do. So I decided to go to the graduate schools. So what I'm telling you is that your life is not going through as you expected. Sometimes you will be sometimes unexpected things just shows up. But my in my humble opinion, you don't need to get pressured, get stressful. You're not screwed, right? Just keep working on what you can do. Then you will get some something valuable things.
Okay, then I also agree with Chung's opinion to some extent, because usually when you do let's say that you have the bachelor degree in the computer science, and then you want to do the master with some thesis topic. But let's say, or the master or PhD, but the many students once get supported from the professor, right? And then professor has some project. Okay, I have this cybersecurity project. And then if there is a project, there is already some guideline is already there, because the professor already wrote the proposal and got funded. And then your topic is automatically determined. That's kind of the sad, and we kind of compromise sometimes, with the reality. However, something I found was that after I finished my PhD, I got a job, and then certain level, I have some controls to manage the funding and things like that. I can kind of do my own project and a project lead or something like that. And then, okay, when I have some freedom to do something you really, really liked, but the reality doesn't allow me to do so, that kind of idea is pushing me to do that, right? So now I do whatever I want. Actually, I also did some network security stuff, with something that's not super interesting to me, but now I'm trying to kind of the direction of my research to the things I really like, right? So you don't have a certain moment, this is what I liked, but it doesn't have anything the situation wise, I can get funded or something like that. That's fine. Life is not that short. After you do that, and also the many parts is kind of the interwoven and also related to each other. So very interesting part, even in my case, I'm an outlier. So I studied the social science and the psychology, and I never thought I can use that kind of knowledge in my computer science research, but I do. The minor was psychology, some psychological theory. I grab and use it in my research. So I never thought about that. So don't think, okay, I'm doing the network, security, and can I do the, computer and human interaction research later? Sure, you can do that. I've seen that so many faculty members, a couple of them, my colleagues, they major in the database. And then now they say, I'm the expert in the machine learning and deep learning, So, it's kind of related, and don't think I only studied the network security in my college, I should use it only. No, don't think like that. When you have some freedom to do something, when you have some power to choose in your situation, definitely you can follow your interests. And also, the life is so many dynamics. So some things you kind of wrote some research project proposal that is kind of funded, and then you can continue that research. But the others that I kind of liked more, but those may not be funded, and then I need to kind of hold a little bit. But there's some timing that you can do, the particular project. So don't be kind of obsessive with your major in the college and also the master degree or something like that. Even though you can change the one you did in your PhD to the after you got the position in the academia, and then you can do something else, definitely, for the research area, because you know how to study. The PhD like that. PhD is more like a professional researcher, right? Their job is the learning during the entire life. Question?
So I think this question would be really relevant to our audience, as we do have a lot of high school students. So in your opinion, what do you think is the best way to stand out in college applications and job applications?
So I never participated in the the undergrad admission committee, so I cannot answer for that. But for PhD application, I can say something. So it is, too far, from you guys. But let's say, you went to, the a university, and if you're thinking to go to a PhD program, the most important thing is not most important things. I shouldn't say that. So one good thing should be to have some research experience by doing some internships with faculty members. So it I'm not I don't mean that you have to publish something during your internship, but having that experience is completely make your application stand out. So because you already know what you're gonna do. So
Okay, then my answer is it really depending on the position. Let's say that you are targeting for the academic position. Let's say, let's not go too far. Let's say that you just graduate into your college and you want to apply for the master's degree, right? And then in that case, you still want to continue your education, right? So whatever you doing something small, research with your faculty, if you publish, and that's good, but it's not necessarily, right? If you kind of work with your professor, and even with a very small research project, but that's good, that's good. And then, but the other parts, and then job application, you're kind of applying for the position in the Oracle and Amazon and the Google or something like that. Then the story is quite different. These days, the interview is very systematic. They even let you guys do some programming. It's more like IQ test. And then right away, the 1-2 minutes, okay, write the code and then show us, let's just say it works, right? So that part is a technical part. So you need to particularly, practice for that. And then some other experience would be some internship in the industry. So, and also because I was in the government for 10 years, there has been a lot of internship opportunity, particularly for the US citizen. I think, most of you guys are the, US citizen. Then let me kind of let you guys, aware of this kind of situation. Interestingly, in the US, the graduate school, including the VTech, most of the students, I would say the more than 80% of the students are the international. However, some funding project that requires only, hiring the US citizen. And also for the government internship and government whatever positions. When I was in the government, we always suffer from, hiring the US citizen PhD. There's a bunch of the job, the position available, but we couldn't find the right people. So even many of the government organization, they have the internship program for the undergraduate students. I also selected a number of undergraduate students, and then I kind of receiving a lot of resume and then pick the good ones, right? But we see the number one, let's say the number one is the GPA. You need to make sure the GPA, particularly for the computer science major things. Let's say if I see the C in your data structure and algorithm class, I may not be that convinced, right? So at least you need to make sure to maintain the 3.5 or above. Of course, the higher is better. At the same time, there is some activities in the internship and then whatever, work with the professor, that is also fine, right? So because I also serve for some scholarship program committee, and then when you also see the students resume, all of them is a college students. And then, the GPA is number one. And then I kind of see the little trends. If some students have a bunch of activities and the GPA is low, and then some students have 2 or 3, but the GPA is still high. Some students GPA is super high, but no experience. Who's gonna be the right qualification? So maybe you can hit the good 2 or 3 activities, and then fairly good GPA. They would kind of those kind of the application, that we can, it catches our eyes, right? And okay, these guys, the one that we want to give the scholarship, right? So you guys need to make a very good balance, right? But to make sure that low GPA is always is not really desirable. And I've seen the many students who have even I've seen a student who went to the Princeton and then GPA is 3.0. Then he couldn't go to the even better school for the master degree and then just middle level, right? So even you go to the top tier undergraduate school, that's good, but maintaining good GPA is also more important, right?
Thank you for that wonderful response, Dr. Cho and Dr. Chung, since it's really important for our audience, since most of them are probably in high school looking for internships or part-time jobs. So our next question was given to me privately, so I will not mention the name. So this one might be good for rising high schoolers or high schoolers in general. For those who are starting in computer science, what languages are good to use, like Python, Java, C++, etc.?
Assembly. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Python. Yep. High level script languages that you can express your own idea in a very reliable way, very easy way. Because the computer science is all about your logical thinking. It's implementing your logical thinking. So as long as you can as long as you can put your thought, express it, to get put together and express it in a computer language, that should be fine. So I would say script-based language, Python, and the other stuff, should be preferable. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with Chung, but the more important part is the logic. Yeah, in my generation, I did everything in Java. But these days, if I say I did Java, and then they say I'm old generation. Everyone is doing the Python these days. So all my students is using the Python because there's a bunch of the libraries out there. Yeah, but the things I found something sad is that these days many open sources out there. The students grab the source code and then they kind of use it, and then if we need to modify a letter, and we do, but it's not necessarily they need to write the whole things. But some kind of the bad parts of that is the students are not really clearly understand what's going on inside of that code, right? But in my generation, I kind of wrote the many things, from the scratch. But these days, so many things already there. Right, so that's kind of good thing and bad thing though. But the more important part I would say is the logic. Yeah, if you learn the one language and then learning the another language, that is kind of much easier. Yeah.
So thank you very much for your answers, Professor Chung and Professor Cho. That would be about all the time we have today for questions. We hope that everybody has enjoyed the panel and was able to learn something new about computer science and also have their questions answered.
We would also like to give a big thank you to our panelists, Professor Chung and Professor Cho, for their time and for providing us with such great insight. We're also very appreciative of our audience members for their engagement and wonderful questions.
Computer science field is very important in this modern time, and understanding it is an important part of facilitating our growth for years to come.
Finally, we'd also like to thank our other group members, Elizabeth Nago, Lynn Tao, Sophie Fung, Rosalind Fang, and Raymond Zeng, our project directors, and Dr. Lu. We wouldn't have been able to do this without you all. Before we end, are there any last words from our speakers?
Thank you so much again for inviting me. And I'm seeing more, unanswered questions here. So if you need any help or if you need any questions, just feel free to send me email anytime. Good luck.
Yeah, also thanks very much, having me here. And then it was a great opportunity to having some interaction with the high school students. Yeah, and then I'm kind of the ones to emphasize that, there's a bunch of opportunity, particularly for the, the female students, and kind of the ones that encourage the STEM in the, the underrepresented population students. So, there are a bunch of opportunity. There are many, the programs for the, even the female students, also the African Americans, and also the, other underrepresented, groups. So, please think about the pursuing your education path in the computer science or even the other engineering, the area. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much for the great advice, Professor Chung. To find out more information about BranchOut and sign up for our future panels, please check us out on www.velbranchout.org or follow us on Facebook at Veritas Education Leaders. If you would like to receive an email to alert you about our future panels, please fill out the form that I'm going to, the form in the chat. And our next career panel will be on the topic of forensic science, and it will take place on July 25th from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern time. Thank you everyone for coming.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye, thank you.
Bye, and thank you so much for coming.
Bye.